What is happening, people? We are back for another week with another dose of Delboy, and today we are in the know with Joel Jackson. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad, man. Not too bad. How's your weekend been?
Yeah, it's been all right. I mean, you can't really do too much, can you? So
Yeah,
it's here and there. It's nice to relax and have the 2 days off work. You know what I mean? So
yeah, nah, for real, it's good. How's lockdown been treating you so far?
it's been all right. Like, I've done a few workout bits and stuff like that, and I've had some good quality time and watched a lot of series, catched up on a few things on TV. But yeah. I mean,
What series are you watching at the moment?
I just got done watching OJ Simpson versus the People, which is pretty good.
Series.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
I've watched this through so many times, but my girlfriend, she hadn't really seen it, so I wanted her to watch it with me.
Yeah.
So we just went back and watched it through. So it's really good though. It's really good television. Like the actors are all on point, and the story is so good. So
yeah, no, proper. So before we get into the wrestling kind of things, I want to start off with a little icebreaker just to kind of like get people to kind of know who you are. And, so today's icebreaker, I want you to do 2 truths and a lie. So tell me 2 truths, a lie, and I'm going to try to guess it.
2 truths and a lie. Oh, okay. I'm 5'4".
Okay.
I'm mixed race Bangladeshi, and I'm 76 kilos.
Okay, I know one is. I know the second one is definitely true.
Yeah.
The second one is definitely true.
I couldn't think of anything. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't think of anything. I was like trying to think, so I was like, okay, like
73 kilos. I actually don't know how big that is. I won't even lie to you.
it's not that big. It's not that big, but it's bigger. It's bigger than me. I'm not 73 kilos. I'm about like 68, 9. Like I fluctuate between 63 to 67, 68, 69. But I want to be 73 kilos. For someone of my height, because I'm about 5. Well, I'm actually, I am about 5'4", 5'5". It would be a good weight.
Yeah.
But in the bigger scheme of things, it's very, very small. Like,
yeah. I mean, if we're to be honest, I would have guessed that anyways. So let's say I won.
Sorry, say again. I didn't hear.
I said if in reality, I would have guessed the last one anyway. So I basically won. So that's not a problem. So you win. So let's go to the beginning. So you've obviously you work in the wrestling industry. You're a wrestler. I wanted to know, like, what is that moment for you growing up that made you realize you actually want to do this? Like, what was you watching? Was it a particular wrestler? Was it a particular wrestling moment? You know, let me know about just how it was watching wrestling growing up.
That's a really, really, really good question. I think off the top of my head, I remember, and I must have been so young. I can't have even been like 1 or 2 years old. But I remember, or maybe it was a replay. I remember Shawn Michaels leaving for the first time. I remember that. I remember being really sad watching that. And then I remember some years later watching Shawn Michaels and doing like the whole thing, do you know, like when he does the pose and everything, that when so I remember a lot of that. And then I think when I really remember I started like kind of watching matches was Eddie Guerrero, because obviously this guy was coming out saying Alachi, I'm still doing this, and he's not my height, he's a lot bigger than me, but he's someone I'd look at and be like, oh, he's similar to my size, because obviously you look at guys at Triple H or whatever, and they're so big, and I couldn't really, like, I could watch and think, oh, that's good, but I wouldn't really like take to it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I'd watch like Eddie or other people of that size, and that was that connection sort of thing. But so I guess Eddie was the first kind of person I really hooked onto, I think. Yeah.
Any particular Eddie Guerrero matches that you love growing up, or even probably just watching back, you said to yourself, like, yeah, this is an incredible... Because I feel like as much as we all appreciate how good Eddie was, I feel like it takes for us to having to not just watch his WWE stuff, going to watch his ECW stuff, his WCW stuff,
Yeah.
his New Japan stuff, and just being able to see how versatile he was. He was able to, you know, do the cruiserweight style, do the luchador style, and also do like the pretty heavy hitting heel style. So,
well, yeah, he did a lot of, like, I liked a lot of his power things, like even like the Three Amigos. That's quite like that's a lot of power, and that's a lot of technique as well. So I liked him for that reason, because obviously he was the showman, and he did the flash stuff, but he also, like, you could see he was very crisp. Like, obviously I don't think at like 7 years old I was thinking, oh, he's really crisp, but I could see he was good. You know what I mean? I could see he was like a notch better than everyone else, sort of thing. And then obviously the frog splash, like, I used to watch that and be like, whoa, like I'd want to do that. But I don't think till I was a bit older, like teenage and stuff, I'd go back and watch the WCW or the New Japan stuff. Obviously the Halloween Havoc is obviously classic. Like, I don't even know how many times I've gone back and watched those clips, and Dean Malenko in WCW as well. And Super Crazy, Psychosis, all those guys. But for me, obviously the Lesnar thing is kind of what sticks, just because I think even now you have Lesnar going in with people, and it's very hard to buy into the fact that he could lose because of what he is.
Yeah.
And then you look at him, and then, like, me watching Eddie do that as a kid. Well, I don't know how. I was probably like 9 or 10 by then. Watching him do that, and it was believable and stuff. That just, I don't know. You could really, do you know what I mean? You really made that connection. You could really buy into Eddie, because I think a lot of guys who was his size, if they'd have done it, you couldn't buy it. You couldn't believe it. And obviously, I still probably thought it was like a little bit real or something then as well. So, but also one moment that always sticks to me, and it's a moment that I really want to recreate at some point, is two. It's the throwing of the chair. Everyone loves that, but it's the throwing of the chair and the drop in, and the do you know where he loosens the boot?
Boots, and then I remember that. Yeah,
he loosens the boot and then he rolls. Oh, I love that. I've always wanted to recreate that moment, but hopefully at some point I'll get to. But yeah.
No, that's sick. Besides Eddie Guerrero, were there any other wrestlers growing up that you just took a liking to naturally?
I mean, it's a sad one. I did quite like Benoit, obviously, before anything happened. I used to watch him for similar reasons and be like, oh wow, like he's a small guy who could throw the big guys around. But Jeff Hardy I really took to as well. And I don't know, I don't even know why that was. I think it's just because he was different, and he did like the really crazy stuff. You could see he was going further than other people. Jeff Hardy was a big one as well for me, and obviously Ray, because obviously Ray was the same thing with Eddie. Kind of like, I look and I see someone who's actually my size, like that maybe I could do those things. Not like, do you know what I mean? But like something I could relate to. Whereas like I could be impressed by Lesnar or Angle and be like, whoa, but I could never like see myself. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't really connect in that same way.
Yeah.
But,
no, wicked. No, that's because even other interviews I've done, and I think some of the common people that people tend to bring up is Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and just their connection together alone was just, every time they got into the ring, whether they're coming, whether they're tagging or whether they're coming as opponents, you know that you're going to get something spectacular. And we can see them wrestle 1,000 times and there'll always be something different. So
I think now you kind of have a similar thing. Well, they almost touched onto it. I don't know if you saw the matches him and Andrade had recently. Yeah. There's been loads, but they've all been so good. Like, I wish they were on pay-per-view, but they've all been. They're so good, such good matches. But
100%. No, I think Andrade is someone that I hold very highly in terms of like his in-ring skill, and I feel like as time goes on, all he more or less needs is better direction. I know he's improving with his English, so I mean we haven't seen him on TV for a while now, so it's just a matter of what they're planning to do with him.
I think they were going to move him NXT, but I know you don't speak English, but I always think there's like, you kind of like, well, Cesaro speaks great English, but I always think like if they're not confident in the talking ability of someone, like I think AEW is really good at utilizing managers. Because I always think like you can, and Zelina Vega was such a gifted talker, like, and obviously
100%.
They've got rid of her now, haven't they? But I really liked that act. But it'd be good to see him do more and be used in a better way. But
Yeah, especially, yeah, exactly, and especially like knowing that there was a few higher ups that were very high on him, for him to now not even, he wasn't even enlisted in the draft. So
yeah, he didn't even. Well, that's what I think. He's getting moved to NXT, but who knows?
Yeah,
but
who knows? Well, let's talk a bit more about your wrestling journey. How did you eventually get started? How did you eventually get started?
How did I get started? So it was a few years back now. I want to say probably 2017. I remember like like a while back when I was probably a bit younger, like maybe when I was in my teenage, like 14, 15. I remember looking up like schools in England, and there wasn't much that come up. And if they did, they were like so far away, like Liverpool or wherever, or Portsmouth or something. And then I remember seeing London School of Lucha Libre, and I'd never been there. So I always kind of kept that in mind, as that was the closest one, and that was in London. So then years later, when I ended up moving to London for a bit.
Whereabouts in London?
Do you know like Hackney, London Fields?
Oh yeah, that's not too far.
It's actually, I love it there. It's actually so nice. So I was living there with my mum, and I was there for a while. So I thought Bethnal Green is around the corner. So I thought, I might as well go pop down and like see if it's any good. And then I went, and I felt like the session went quite well. And like a few people said like, like, have you done this before and stuff like that? And I hadn't, and it felt like really good. So I just thought, I should go back. Do you know what I mean? And then I just kept going. And then I took a lot of time off it actually for like about almost a year. And then I recently started up again, probably New Year's last year, start of last year, 2019. Okay. Yeah. But London Lucha was where I first started. I did a few bits at Knuckle Locks as well. And then now I'm up at the Square One in UBW, which is like the Midlands kind of area.
Oh, wicked. And how have you been finding it? So even with some of the clips that I saw of you, even just you touching up on like the Lucha Libre and then bringing up Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, like your style is very much along that kind of ilk of like the high flying, very speed based. You even do like the running knee that's similar to like what Kenta and Daniel Bryan do. Like, what's inspired like your wrestling style?
Yeah, it is pretty much exactly what you said. It's because I didn't really get to see a lot of Daniel Bryan's indie stuff. I really like not until like later on, and I went back and went through. But I remember first seeing Daniel Bryan on the really like not so good NXT. Do you remember the really old original?
When I think the Miz was his mentor or something like that.
Yeah, and it was wicked. It was actually wicked, like story to watch and stuff like that. But it wasn't that great. But like Daniel Bryan was on there, and I remember that's when I first watched him. I saw a match with Jericho that I thought was like really good, and that was such a good match. And I always liked Jericho, and then I watched him have a few more, like loads of good matches, and he naturally just become my guy. Like, and then I knew he was trained by Shawn Michaels. He was my size. He was athletic. He was fast. He was like, and you can see he's like really, like when he's hitting people, it's like for a guy of his size, you can see he's really doing some like damage there. Obviously, he's probably not actually hurting them, but and then he just become my guy. I watched that match at Night of Champions versus The Miz.
Yeah,
and that was like my favorite match for like I'd ever seen in WWE. I was like, whoa! And then I just noticed all my favorite matches were him. So there was like him and Ziggler at like Bragging Rights or something. That was a great match. And then just from there, so I kind of gravitated towards him and like Ray, Eddie. So I just kind of, and also like I think if people see me in a ring at like 5'5", whatever, like the expectation is that you need to, I want to see this guy do some like high flying. I want to see him do that kind of stuff. If I got in there and, you know, even if I go to the gym and stuff, no one really wants to see me like, you know, trying to do any other style than that. Do you know what I mean? They might want to see some technical stuff, but they don't want to see me try and do the power stuff. And do you know what I mean? The expectation is to be the kind of lucha libre-esque kind of thing. So that's what I kind of try and hold myself to and try and make sure like I'm at that place where I can do those things and so forth. But
that's dope. I mean, for me, even just growing up, I think as time went on, that more or less became like, even like when you're playing like WWE SmackDown versus Raw, when it comes to playing, that's the kind of style I would usually create my wrestler to have anyways, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I've always been a fan of that wrestling. I think it's only maybe the last few years I like that style, but then when it's more or less incorporated with like more of like a stronger style with like that MMA infused, like with like the strikes and the kicks, it becomes more enjoyable. But for me, I feel like you just have to work at your strengths, and for me, that style of wrestling will always like, even in 100 years' time, high flying style is always going to be the most sought after style anyway. So it's proper sick. You mentioned earlier about you being half Bengali, and there's not a lot of Asian wrestlers. I mean, if we're talking like East Asian, there's not really a lot.
I could probably, off the top of my head, name like maybe a hand's worth of ones that I know, and maybe that's almost my fault, but I don't feel like it is. I can name like Ali, Serena D, Ginny, and RJ Singh, and guy on NXT. I'm misplacing his name now. NXT UK. He's trained by Lance Storm. I can't remember his name right now, but so yeah, it's about 5 that I can think of, and there's obviously, I'm sure there's way more Asian wrestlers than that in the world. So.
Yeah, I mean, even in a video with WrestleMania, big up WrestleMania, we spoke about representation. Was it important for us? For me personally, growing up, it wasn't. I didn't necessarily care because I mean, I had my favorites. So obviously, The Rock. I enjoyed The Rock. But Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler of all time. So I never really looked at wrestlers and thought to myself, you know what? I have to look for a black wrestler because that's...
No.
I never really thought of that. So it's only as I went back, as I've gotten older and I've, got younger siblings, younger family members, and just thinking about the younger kids of today, they're lucky to be able to have that representation. Like, how was it for you growing up? Did you really care about representation, or was it just something
I didn't... It's kind of like the same thing with you. It's like Eddie was my favorite wrestler, and he's Latino, but he's a white Mexican guy. So there was no like connection in that sense. But like, and it didn't really matter to me because obviously, like, if you're amazing, if you're great, you're great. Do you know what I mean? If you're not, you're not. Like, the rest of this really doesn't matter. But
yeah, exactly.
I know, like, there was probably a part of me that like wanted to see that though. Do you know what I mean? Like, so. And it wasn't just wrestling, like, because I read a lot of comics and like watch a lot of films. I always kind of like would look for like, and I like superheroes, so I'd always look for like, oh, where's the character like who's Asian or something like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, just, and there wasn't really. So I was always like, oh, like, I would have liked to have one, but it didn't. Like, do you know what I mean? It didn't really make a difference too much that there wasn't. It's just, it would have been nice for that to be out there. But like in wrestling now, it's quite nice because even though I did like name probably like 5 or 6 there, and I would like there to be way more than that. That's still 6 like prominent names. Do you know what I mean? So that are all very successful. So and are really good. And there's and hopefully there'll be a lot more. And it wasn't like that, Like
exactly.
even like 10 years ago, I don't think you could really think of many. And if they were, it was always like really like silly,
stereotypical
like stupid
gimmicks.
Yeah, and I hate that. I really don't like that. So, like, but yeah, so it's a lot better now. Like, I really like Ali because
Ali is one of my favorites. He's amazing.
He's so good. He's like, as a talent athletically, and what he can do is just at like another level anyway. But then like his promos and stuff, and I don't know if you ever listened to like him talking on like podcasts and stuff. He's a really smart guy. And,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and like listening to him talking, like saying how he was asked to do like some really stupid gimmick where he's like a like a typical Indian bad guy and stuff, and then now watching him be in the role where he's actually like kind of the opposite of that. Like he's just him. He doesn't need to be like a stereotype or anything like that. He's just a great character who can speak and wrestle really well. So it's nice for me to watch that in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's like we're in a place where I feel like it's taken too long for us to get to this point where we don't have to allow our ethnicities or our race to be the reason for our gimmick. I mean, at one point, we had like the likes of like the Iron Sheik, We had like Tiger Ali Singh, but then as time went on, for us to have characters where it's just solely based on, you know, this whole nationalism and whole stereotype of, I'm Asian or I'm Russian, so I have to portray this character for me to get heat. It's like even people like Muhammad Hassan, he wasn't even Asian.
Yeah, it's like Jinder Mahal is Jinder Mahal's Canadian.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not. I mean, yeah, I'm sure like he's got some like, you know, there's some Indian or Punjabi in him somewhere. You know what I mean? But like he's Canadian. It's not like, so it doesn't really make too much sense. But I think it's not even like a. I think it's just a problem. Well, it's not a problem. It comes from like the really old timey wrestling where to gain heat, that was like the level 1 stage of getting heat, of like just being the foreigner. Do you know what I mean? But I think we're kind of past that now, because it doesn't really ever seem to work. Like they tried to kind of do it with Rusev, didn't they? And it just completely went the other way. Like everyone loves Rusev. So like I think like it kind of shows that like that doesn't work anymore. Like we're way past that. Like I don't think. And also as well, I don't think I'm certainly I don't think many wrestling fans are going to boo people for where they're from. It's just whether you're a good bad guy and what you do in the ring, and whether you're like, you know what I mean, being a cheat or whatever. So like the foreigner bad guy thing, that's the thing. I don't think it's something that works. The same way I don't think like being the all good American hero is something that works as a good guy, or like the British. Do you know what I mean? I don't think like just being patriotic and national and stuff like that is something that's should define characters, and I don't really think it works anymore. But that's just my opinion.
I personally think I 100% agree with you, because I feel like even in those kind of like stereotypical gimmicks, I feel like it tends to be those who are in support of like the American patriot or something. They seem to be have more like bigoted views in terms of, and more or less they don't look at these wrestlers as portraying the character. They just see a reflection of how they potentially feel, but you know, there's a lot of like racism and bigotry behind them. But then when you now look back at some of these foreigner characters, a lot of the stuff that they were saying were like, it's true. It's not like it's anything bad, but you know how it is. They just try to portray.
Like a lot. Yeah, like a lot of the foreigner bad guy stuff, and I can't think of like an example, but I know like most of them will always say, "Oh, you don't like me because of where I'm from," and then I would watch it and be like, "Yeah, that's wrong." Like, do you know what I mean? I'd be like, he's right. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's a crap reason for us all not to like him. Like, it doesn't really make, do you know what I mean? It didn't really make, and also it doesn't really, I just think like, you don't need to have like really deep characters in wrestling, but like, I think just that kind of surface level, I'm good because I'm British or I'm American, versus I'm not good because I'm a bad guy because I'm a foreigner. Like, it doesn't hold, like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't really hold any weight to it. And I just don't think it's something that works, and there's not really much of a place for it. I think it's an old timer thing that might have worked back then. I think now in 2020, like, do you know what I mean?
Nobody cares. I mean, even like when Ali debuted for the Cruiserweight Classic, and you know they introduced him. For me, it was kind of like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air. Like, I'm not seeing any type of Arab gimmick. I'm not seeing any type of bad foreigner. Like, we're literally seeing this guy based on his skill, and he's been pushed because of his skill, not because. So it was amazing to see. And Ali, even as much as now I don't care for Retribution, but him being added to Retribution added so much stock and so much value for me to want to pay attention. So I mean, Ali, he's amazing.
Yeah, I love all of this stuff, man, and I completely agree with what you just said. Like, I wasn't really that invested in Retribution, and I think all the people in it are great. I just think obviously the way that they've been used is, and like the master stuff, I don't know, but Ali adding to it definitely adds something.
Yeah,
but it was like you just said, like it was such a breath of fresh air, like, and it's like almost funny in a way, like who knew that, like, if you let a guy who's from wherever just be himself, who's really good, he'll probably get over and people will like him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he can be a good baby face just because he's a good baby face. It doesn't need to be about where he's from. So
and just for me, it's like I don't see, like, not even to be cliche, but I don't look at him and think, he's this or he's that. For me, he's just a good
same.
He's just a good promo. You know what I'm saying? He's just, and you know, hopefully, God willing, he's able to have a fruitful WWE career, because I can see it going to the top. So, and that's all we could really hope for, really.
Yeah. Such a good talker as well. I really like his promos.
100%. Even some of the promos that he does, just like his Twitter promos, it's like when he was on 205 Live, and a lot of the time, they're not really getting that much airtime. They have like an hour to do their show.
Yeah.
He was able to just use his platform to just create promos, and you're just looking at him like, okay, I think I'm going to tune in this Friday after SmackDown. So, and so far he had the classic with Buddy Murphy. He's just so great. Good. He's just great, man. He's honestly just great. So how has it been for you navigating throughout the business so far, like just as someone that is Asian?
I mean, to be honest, I've not really kind of seen any kind of different kind of treatment or anything like that. It's been very good. The only thing I can say, and I think it's something that's kind of been addressed this year, which I was really happy about as well. So and that's just that, like, there's a lot of people from minorities who are in wrestling. There should be more on the card, and that's I don't think that's something strange to say. Like I think that's a very normal thing to say. It's just sometimes you might look at a card and there might just be like every single wrestler's white, and that's fine. There's no problem with that at all. If they're all really good, they're all deserving of that spot. I'm sure they've all worked incredibly hard. The only point that I would say adversely to that is that I'm sure there's a lot of people in that locker room who have worked equally as hard. So like, that's the. But I think you see a lot more of that now. Anyway, I think we are seeing a lot more of that. But that's really the only thing I could really say about it. And no one's like, I must admit, I was really worried when I first started wrestling, that like the first thing someone will come say is like, can you be like Prince whatever? I was like, I really genuinely, I was so worried. I was like, oh, someone's gonna come and ask me to put on like a hijab or some stupid like. But it never happened, so that must be a good thing. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah. So, and also the other thing I can really add to that point is that show was so good. What was it? The one that Roy Johnson put together. The name's actually.
How could it escape my mind?
I know. It's the same with me as well.
How could it escape my mind? He's gonna kill me.
Yeah, it's the show where everyone's minority on it.
Yeah, he's gonna kill me.
Oh, what is it? I actually forget what it's called.
He's gonna.
I know it's Resurgence who did it.
Yeah. He's gonna kill me. Oh, I'm gonna have to bleep this.
I know. Is it called Pattern Up? Is it Pattern Up? Why do I think it's Pattern Up? Is it Pattern Up? Everything patterned, isn't it?
How could I think?
Yeah, there we go. We got it. I know. I felt really bad for not remembering that either. Like, but yeah, that's like an amazing thing. Like, I remember I wasn't involved, and I would love to be involved in like a future one, obviously. But like again, like there's loads more people deserving than me. But that's like an amazing thing. Like forget wrestling. Like that's just an amazing thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just, that's a very cool thing. There should be more of that. Obviously, I think adversely we shouldn't have to do things like that, and you shouldn't have to necessarily find your way to do that. But that in itself contained is like an amazing thing. So that and like for him to go out and do that as well, that was a very cool thing. Like beyond wrestling or whatever. So
yeah, big up Roy Johnson. I feel like just not even just wrestling, but I feel like there's just like a huge tokenism kind of thing that goes on where people just feel like they just to keep everyone happy, let's just have one card.
Yeah, you have your one guy.
Yeah, you have one match. And it's like, I mean, I feel like slowly and surely those days are going to be coming to an end, because it's no longer going to be based on how you look or what you represent. It's just basically going to be based on talent. And, you know, I feel like everybody just...
Which is all it should be as well.
Exactly. That's literally it. So, I mean, we can only hope and pray that, you know, things are changing for the better in the right direction.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, just when I've come in, and maybe it's at the time I've come in, like, most cars I'm on, like, it seems, like, quite nice and diverse and stuff, and you see a lot more of diversity. But, yeah, it'd be nice to see things move forward beyond just, like, your typical, okay, here's the one guy, like, do you know what I mean? Like, just, like, a bit more than that. But I think we are getting to that stuff.
Yeah. Nah, sick. You briefly touched on earlier, you've got an interest for superheroes comics. In the back we can see there's a Avengers poster out there. Um, has any of that taken any has that been any kind of inspiration in your wrestling style or just in wrestling for you?
I would say definitely, and I don't know if this maybe just me. I'd say 100%. Like I'm like a massive nerd. Like all I really remember really being passionate about as a kid was wrestling, and then like comics and Marvel, DC, all that stuff. So I think now when I'm actually wrestling, like everything, like so much is it, I think you have to kind of look at those things for inspiration. Do you know what I mean? Like so even I mean, two things off the top of my head is like gear. And then like noise. So like for my gear, my first pair of gear is like black, green, gold, and white. Which because the only thing I could think of is like when I first did my gear, I was like, oh, Green Ranger was always my favourite, so I'm gonna look like the Green Ranger. And then everyone came back and was like, oh, you have such nice gear, like that's great gear. I was like, oh, wicked. So but and like off the top of my head, I could probably. Like I wouldn't even have to think. I could just think of like 100 different gear styles of like my favourite characters. Like in wrestling, I'll do yellow and blue Wolverine, and then I'll just keep going through all the characters till I use them all. Do you know what I mean? So, and even this is a really weird one. And then I remember when I remember when I first started wrestling, everyone said that I'm it's something that's still not too great with now. I need to make more noise. So like when you hit someone or something, you just make a little noise. And I couldn't think of like a reference of noise to hit someone with, like unless it's like real. So the only things that I would do is like I remember watching again. I don't know why it always comes back to Power Rangers. I remember like Tommy when he hit people would go like "Sia, hit ya" and all that. Yeah. So like there's like some of those early matches that I did. If you go back and watch it, you can hear like the "Sia." So, but yeah, it has a huge inspiration on me. I think all that stuff definitely.
Who's your? Well, I've got a personal request. Deadpool's one of my favorite characters. So if you ever decide, you want to make some special gear, I mean, please do consider Deadpool.
100%.
Who are some of your favorite superheroes?
Favorite superheroes? Oh, such a tough question. I would say obviously Captain America's like my favorite Avenger, but and that's just because of the films, I think. But like Thor was always one of my favorites. Wolverine, because he, again, like I don't know what it is with this, but like because like the character Wolverine's a short guy, like he's a really short guy.
Very, very
I know Hugh Jackman. Yeah, Hugh Jackman played him. Yeah, he's tiny. Do you know what I mean? So instantly I'm like, oh, like a tiny guy who's kind of in shape. Like that's me. But yeah, Wolverine was always a big one of mine. Spider-Man, obviously, and I like the new Spider-Man as well, Miles Morales, because that's really cool. And then yeah, and I want the game really bad. But yes, Spider-Man and Wolverine were like my main two guys, I'd say.
Wicked. And just to wrap things up, I do something called set the scene. So usually I let the person pick the type of match it's going to be, but today I'm going to be the general manager and I'm going to pick the match. So here's the scene. It is WrestleMania. You're in a fatal four-way ladder match for the Money in the Bank. Who are your three opponents?
What, like anyone?
Anyone, dead or alive.
Jeez.
We're at Madison Square Garden, by the way.
Madison Square Garden.
This is the second to last match of the night. So you guys are in an amazing spot to warm up the main event. Like this is the spot where it's like any high spot could happen. Who are your three opponents for this fatal four-way ladder match?
I'm not going to do anyone who's passed away because I'd like to maybe think of people who are about now. So we'll say I'd probably put definitely Phoenix in there, Ray Phoenix.
I'd love to see that.
Darby Allin, just because I love Darby Allin's work as well.
He's amazing.
It's Penta's the one that I'm thinking of. To be fair, I can't really think of anyone else. This is it probably would be Penta as well. Yeah,
I think just in general, just that style alone together, like everybody can more or less do the high flying style. You've got Darby that's got like the Daredevil, just jump off anything. Yeah. Got Penta that's just a star. Phoenix a star. You'll be able to just tangle up with anyone. Yeah. I'm sold. I'll put that match on right now, and I'll be first in the first row watching that.
Yeah, I did quite a self-serving answer just so I could just get all my favourite guys in there. Do you know what I mean? And they can all make me look really good, even though I'm not. So.
Man, it's been amazing to chop it up with you, man. I've proper enjoyed this, man. Proper enjoyed. Would you like to let people know your socials and everything?
Yeah, just thank you as well. Really enjoyed it, and
thank you for coming on, man.
No worries, man. Thank you. And so my Twitter and my Instagram is at JJ Jackson Hart. So it's JJACKSONHEART1_, and that's my Twitter and my Instagram. And then I have my Facebook page as well, which is Jackson Hart. So give that a follow or a like or whatever. So
wicked. Make sure you guys hit him up. Make sure check him out, follow him. And make sure you guys keep supporting British wrestling. And this has been In The Know with. I'm your boy Delboy, and see you next week. Wow.
Thank you, man.